If we can think about how to manage our conversations, really think versus react, what would that do to our communication? How would that enhance our communication between our family, our coworkers, just everybody in general? Well, we're here to finish this conversation with Mark Oelze on the P.L.E.G.E method and how to just really have better conversations so that we avoid some conflict, maybe avoid some arguments, and reach a greater understanding. So you don't want to miss part 2 on Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with my friend, Mark Oelze. In today's world, older adults face major transitions like downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes to age in place, all while embracing life after these changes. As a senior home advisor and seasoned realtor, Robin McCoy guides these decisions with care and thoughtful planning, helping create a vibrant future. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with me, your host, Robin McCoy.
So this is what I had to do with my dad. So that's just the first 4 steps. I'll come back to the last in a minute. But I had to do that with my dad. I had to, as I drove off, I'm realizing I didn't do any of that with my dad. My dad was trying to interject and explain to me why he doesn't want to go to another facility for assisted living. And I wasn't listening.
You were trying to get your point across.
I'm trying to get my point across rather than to listen to his point. And see, the crazy thing is, I know this about people, the thousands of hours I've worked with people and so forth. Yeah. I know that we both want to be heard. But what happens, unfortunately, is we try to get the other person to hear us. And we don't honor them in the same way by seeking to do all we can to understand them. As you were alluding to Stephen Covey's comment, seek first to understand, then be understood. That's the rest of the phrase.
Yeah.
Seek first to be the one who understands. Then maybe you get to the place where you can be understood yourself. That, to my mind, is honoring another or loving another person well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
I didn't do that with my dad. So 3 days later, after 3 days of processing all that and ready to humble myself to go to my dad and say, Dad, I didn't do well. I went back and I knocked on the door, went into the house, sat down, and I did that very thing. I said, Dad, I didn't do well. I didn't do what I teach. I'm sorry. I really am. I'm sorry for what happened 3 days ago. And if you're willing, I would like to just sit here and listen. Listen to your concerns about why you don't want to leave your home right now. And I just got quiet. Now, at this point, I had to be really serious about this, right? Which is why I think I didn't come back for 3 days, because I really wanted to be at a place where I was going to do what I just said I was going to do.
You weren't gonna interrupt with the yeah buts.
Yeah.
You were gonna sit and listen.
I wasn't going to re-escalate this thing again.
Yeah. Yeah.
My intention was I was going to listen and do everything I could to listen and have no rebuttal or no even thoughts coming from me unless my dad asked me.
That's a tough place to get to. That's why it took 3 days. Let's make note. That's why it took 3 days.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a tough place to get to, but boy.
It made that easier, didn't it? I bet that conversation went a whole lot easier.
Oh, my word. It was.
Than it would have a day and a half earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. And Robin, the truth is, we all want that kind of a person in our life who will listen that well, and that we can feel so safe that I can just say whatever's going on inside of me. I can process out loud, pause when I need to think of my next sentence to explain to what I just said, and take the time to do that without the worry or the fear that somebody's going to interrupt me and begin to change everything I've just said. I want that kind of a listener in my life.
Absolutely.
And I have a few. I think of 3 people, starting with my wife. 3 people in my life right now that will listen that well. And I'm telling you, that is a gift.
Yeah.
So I needed to give that gift to my dad. And that's what I did. I said, Dad, I really want to know. Tell me what's going on. I just want to listen. And he began talking and telling me. And one of the big things that he said was the fear that he has heard that whenever someone goes into a place like this, or an assisted living facility, that within a year or two they'll die.
Yeah, they decline and die.
Yeah, and that was his fear, one of his biggest fears. Other things going on as well. All I did was listen, echoed back. So you're concerned about this, you're worried about this, you're afraid about this, and disarmed by validating. So I listened, I echoed, and I disarmed by validating. Dad, that makes sense. Dad, I can see why you're so afraid. Dad, I can appreciate that. Oh, wow, I can understand that. That makes sense, Dad. And that's all I did. And I let it be.
Downsizing doesn't have to feel like a loss. It can feel like freedom. I'm Robin McCoy, and every month I host a free webinar called The Gentle Transition, Downsizing with Peace, Purpose, and Dignity. Whether you're planning your own move or helping a parent through one, this webinar walks you through the process in a way that's calm, human, and full of hope. Registration is free. Just click the link in the show notes, and I'll see you there.
So that's what I did. That's what I focused on. And that was the intention of that visit. So that I would leave and my dad would settle back in his chair and feel like Mark really listened this time and he understands me. And that's what happened. Interestingly enough, 2 weeks later, he calls me up and he says, hey, Mom and I have been talking. Maybe you mentioned this lady who works there with you and to help us think through about where we might go. Her name was Catherine Ambrose, because I had mentioned her to them, and so forth. And he said, yeah, we've been talking. Do you think maybe you could get her to come over and talk with us and try to think through what we can do? I said, sure, Dad. My eyes are wide open like, oh, my word. What? Right? But here's the deal. He was able to come to that place of considering their next step, but not until he was first heard and understood of where he was.
And he got to say it out loud.
Yes.
Because we have these things in our head, and when somebody comes at us telling us what we have to do, and then when we can have somebody listen, like you said, just listen, but I get to say it out loud. Here are my fears.
Yeah.
Here is why I don't want to leave. I'd have all my things. This is where I live. This is my home. I don't want to give up my independence. All these things are very important. And when they get to say it out loud, then it helps. It helps anybody be able to really see where that fear or that hesitation or that denial or whatever the situation is, where it's coming from and what it sounds like in the real world outside of our heads.
And enables them to process it and think about it, reflect on it, and move past perhaps some of those fears into a better place. But it won't happen if they're not given the opportunity to voice and process out loud. So I did that with my dad. Changed things around. 2 weeks later, we went over there and talked some more, and they were willing to look at this place where they soon thereafter ended up. So
that's and that's amazing, right? Because you go from, and I say this, but kind of a gang up, right? All the siblings come and say, Mom, Dad, we think it's time that you move to assisted living because burners are on and Mom is holding onto the walls as she walks and there's too much furniture here. I'm afraid you're going to trip and fall.
Yeah.
And they're just going to get defensive going, this is our house. We are fine. Yeah. We take care of each other. Haven't you ever left a burner on?
Yeah.
And things like that. And so they're getting defensive back.
Yep.
And that's why that doesn't work.
Yep, absolutely. And you can carry that over into any relationship, right?
Sure, absolutely.
That's not going to work in my marriage. It's not going to work with my children. It's not going to work with my neighbor. It's not going to work with my coworker or my
exactly
my business. Everyone wants to be heard and listened to and have the space and conversationally to be able to process out loud and think out loud.
Yeah.
It's true for all of us.
Right.
But unfortunately, again, we weren't taught that. It wasn't modeled to us. And we've apparently not too many authors or people have even stopped long enough to kind of think through what is that process. Okay,
Right.
what is pausing and then listening and then echoing and then disarming the tension by validating? What does that involve? And then in the last two steps I didn't mention, but again, Robin, back and forth, if you don't know conflict, I was saying it earlier that we both have a story in our head about what went wrong. Okay, and it's important and it's most helpful for both people to share their story, but we can't share it right back and forth like, oh yeah, but you thought that, but I thought this, but you thought that, but I thought that's not going to work. So what works is this sequential step. We pause. I listen to you first. I echo back you first. I validate your thoughts first. And at that point, I get quiet, right? I say, that makes sense. The tendency is even then to say, that makes sense, but again, not a good place to say it. I say, that makes sense, and I get quiet to let it settle in your heart and mind. Mark really did hear me. He said it makes sense, and I think it really does make sense to me. It settles in, settles down. And it's at that point that, again, almost naturally, you might say something like, well, can you give me your thoughts? And give is the next step. Right? But that might happen naturally rather than me trying to force my way in.
Right.
After you've been loved well, honored well by me in the way that I'm relating to you, you then just might do the same for me. Love is reciprocal in nature. Okay? If I love you, you just might love back.
You just might.
There's another reference to God. I don't know where you're at in your spiritual journey, but we're all somewhere, and there's a reference in there in the same that we love Him, God, when He loved us. So it's just another, but it's the idea. Love is reciprocal, right?
Yeah.
And so if I love you in a certain way, pausing, listening, echoing, disarming the tension by validating, and getting quiet rather than arguing, you just might do the same for me. And then you say, Mark, can you give me your perspective? Okay. Or if in the silence, after a few moments, I might say something like, Robin, I have some thoughts that I think might be helpful. Can I give them to you? And I ask permission. Can I do that? Okay.
I ask permission to give you my thoughts on all of it.
Yes, exactly. So then at that place, then we step into the last step, which is engage. Okay, pause, listen, echo, disarm, give, and engage. And engage means you kind of go back around this process and again until the conflict is resolved and or the connection is reestablished. So then I ask if I can give my thoughts, and basically then you become the one who pauses or stays in the pause mode rather than interrupting me.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to my thoughts about the story in my head about just what happened. You echo back to indicate to me that you really were listening. And then you disarm any further tension between us by validating my thoughts too.
I appreciate you, Mark, for being concerned that your mom and I are no longer safe in this home. I thank you for being, I'm just, but those are the things that you're looking for, right? Oh, I see why you're fearful. I understand why you're concerned. I understand, the neighbor down the street fell and broke her hip and she never was able to come home again. I get where you are concerned. Yeah. So now you can have that conversation that says, Dad, now I see why you're fearful.
Yeah.
And he says, well, son, I see why you're fearful. Yeah. And it's the same thing. And it's a much calmer, more respectful conversation. And and just even in your situation, again, the professional that did it not well the first time.
Yeah.
So as people like us, just our listeners out here, when they know there's this conversation they need to have with a loved one. Now, I've read, I've read the pledge book. I understand the pledge. He or she didn't.
Mm.
So now I'm going to try and pause and listen and echo back and disarm and give you an opportunity and try and engage. But if my partner in conflict doesn't know this, I mean, do my steps just automatically kind of de-escalate so that they blend into the flow, or are they still over here going, yeah, but?
So a really good question. One I'm often asked about, again, the idea being, what if you know the process, but the other person on the other side of the table doesn't, in essence, and where does it go? What do you do, and so forth. So my first response is this: that when I teach this and train people to do this, I tell them that even though I teach this in the context of difficult conversations or conflict conversations, right? I teach that in the context of that. I'm ultimately not teaching people how to resolve conflict. I'm ultimately teaching people how to love and honor others well in the way you communicate. Okay? So whether or not my dad gave me a chance to share my thoughts. And he had probably read my book 10 years ago,
When it first came out, because he's proud of his son.
Oh, yeah, right. But he probably didn't remember the process, and so forth. And though he didn't probably know the process, or do the process, whether or not he reciprocated the kind of love that I had just been giving him, that was aside from the point. It would have been nice. It'd be nice if you and I were in a conflict and we did that together with each other. But whether or not you did, I did my part to love you, to honor you, honor my dad, love him. Okay, so that's the first part. I'm responsible for me, and I'm going to be the best lover I can of others, honorer of others in communication that I can be. Period. Straight out. That's it.
That's your mode in life. That is how you're going to approach it.
Yeah. The second thought or third thought is there are other things you can do if a person's open. I have a friend who is one of those three people that are best listeners. He has literally taught this to 200 people himself.
Wow.
Okay?
So he teaches it to everybody he knows.
That's exactly right. And that's his thinking is, what if my entire world around me all knew this and we practiced this together? Wow, what difference might it make in our relationships?
And just you think about the ripple effect of that, right? So not my relationship with you is now changed, but now your relationship with your neighbor is changed. Now their relationship with their spouse is changed, and her relationship with their son is, the ripple of that is enormous.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. So one of the things he says is to his neighbor, to a family member, to a friend is, hey, I learned something that's really helpful to me in conversations, period. And that's one extra little thing is these principles are helpful in all conversations, not just when we're in conflict, right? To listen well, to echo someone back, right? To be validating and affirming and thank you. It's a good thought. I appreciate that. All these steps, to pause regularly rather than interrupt when someone's communicating with me, right?
We Are One Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to bridging the gap between the needs and resources of low-income seniors and veterans. Rooted in compassion and love, our mission is to provide housing, living assistance, and access to critical resources that ensure dignity and support for the elderly in underserved communities. At the heart of We Are One Heart's work is the belief that every individual shares a common humanity, a heart connected through love and care. We are committed to creating a future that honors those who have shaped the past by offering programs and services that enhance their quality of life. For more information or to donate, visit wa1h.org. That's WA1h.org.
These are all important steps all the time. So that's a really important point.
Yes, yes. Imagine this with your clients.
Exactly.
Imagine if your clients felt heard by you.
There you go. Shocking. Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. So you practice this. This becomes a part of who you are, how you relate to others. Okay? Now, so I meet a new friend, a neighbor, new coworker, and I say, I've learned this process. It's quite possible someday you and I might be in a conflict, even a small one. And I want to promise you that I'm going to use this process between us so that we can have the best possible chance of coming away really, really, really stronger in our relationship. Can I share that process with you?
Who's gonna say no?
Yes. That's what my friend
Because maybe if
did.
they do, maybe you don't want to be in a relationship with them. Maybe that's the
That's a
key
thought.
that says, okay, we can,
Yeah.
we can work side by side, but I'm guessing this may.
Yeah. So that's what my friend did with 200 people. And that's how he got into the conversation. He shared that over and over and over again.
That's crazy.
And
That's crazy. I mean, that's impactful.
Yeah.
It's wildly impactful.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just what, because I just think about, again, all the conversations and the people and the clients and the friends in my world that are approaching these conversations with their parents. And it's just, it's hard. It's hard because you only want the best for the people that you love.
Yeah.
And when you see them not making the safest decisions,
Yeah.
we want to make those decisions for them.
Yeah.
And that's where the ulcers come from. That's where the arguments come from. That's where the not knowing what to do comes from. That's where, estrangement happens. Right? Because we just can't bring ourselves to listen to each other and understand each other's perspective.
Yeah.
And where they're coming from in the world. With my mother, her mother died when she was 12. She basically raised her younger sister. She, so she had been fiercely independent since she was 12 years old.
Wow.
And telling her
Ooh.
that she could no longer live independently
Ooh. Yeah.
was everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yes.
And so, and again, I didn't handle it the best way I could.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I handled it the best way I could at that point in time. I like to think I could have handled it better, and today I probably would. Because I've been through some of this stuff now.
Sure. But what a powerful story, though, again, that's inside of your mom's mind and heart and her life experience.
Yeah.
Right? Why, again, another idea, why it's so would be so difficult for her to consider downsizing and getting into a facility with assisted living. I mean, that'd be so hard, of course.
Yeah, very hard.
The more understanding you can be about that, the better the likelihood future conversations might go.
Yeah.
The difficult thing is it's still not a guarantee, and that's where I get
No.
still not a guarantee. But the better we do the kind of communicating that we've been talking about here, the chances go up that the relationship will better and conversations will improve as well.
And as you said, you then know you did your best.
Yes. Yes.
That you did everything you could to make this go well, make it go more smoothly, and hopefully avoid having to do things in urgency.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? By having your dad call you back and say, okay, let's talk about it. And then, okay, that sounds reasonable. They were able to be a part of that choice to make that move.
Yeah.
Versus my mother, who had that choice taken away from her because she couldn't stand up anymore.
Wow.
Right? And so by having the conversations early.
Yeah. Sure.
And having good ones like we're talking about.
Yeah.
Then the people, like our parents, and this is what we talk about here, is they get to be involved in the choice.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, let's bring Catherine over and let's talk about it. Okay, let's go look at that place that you thought might work. Okay, they think you're going to come in and pack up their closet and take them that afternoon.
Yeah. Right.
And not that it's going to be some choices going on, but let's start moving in a certain direction.
Yeah.
My mother, it became urgent, and it was within days that we had to do something.
Yeah.
And so that just makes it harder. That
Sure.
just escalates everything. All the emotions are through the roof. All the finances are all over the place because you're not making solid decisions ahead of time. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
So people can learn how do we do this, because I know it's going to be hard, and I know they're going to push back. How do I start it? How do I start it? And how do I make sure we don't get in a fight that takes 3 days or longer, or if ever, to resolve?
There you go. Yep.
And that's what I think this was all about. is that if you could say one thing that maybe we didn't talk about as we wrap up, what would you like to leave with people?
Well, probably a lot of things, but I would say that one of the things that strikes me is, I've said it so many times, there's nothing more important in life than relationships. And so that's where I want to invest the greatest amount of my time, my energy, my thoughts. I want to learn to do relationships well. And I would hope that people would hear this and say, I want to learn this. I want to learn this well. Because I can see how, boy, this might help me in my marriage. It might help me with my kids. It might help me with my parents or my mom or dad. And I need help. We all need help.
We all do.
Yeah. So nothing more important than relationships. Do our best to really work and put all our energies, or most of our energies, to figuring that out and learning.
Yeah, I agree. I think it ultimately will make you a happier person.
Yeah.
I think we've got, a lot of unhappy people walking around out there. And I think if we could, improve some of our relationships, maybe that just lightens that load a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got your book linked in the show notes. It's in my list of recommended books. It's all those things. I hope people will take a minute and read that book and follow up, with you and your teachings, because more and more people, as we move along in this society today, need to know how to have better conversations and better conflict resolution, because there's a lot of conflict out there. There's a lot of conflict.
Oh, there is. The world is full of it right now. And if I can say one last thing there for people just to go to my website, just to take the initial step, to go to my website, pledgetalk.com, and there's a button where you can get a free infographic, a free roadmap. It's like a roadmap of those 6 steps, a diagram of those 6 steps, gives you a summary about each one, shows you how to do it. It's a beautiful piece of work that is free, and you can get that, put it up on your refrigerator somewhere, and that's a start to help you really move in this direction.
Absolutely. Well, we'll make sure we link that in the show notes as well, so people can gain quick access to that. Cool. So Mark, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. It's really got me thinking about different aspects in my own life, and my own relationships. So I do so appreciate that. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. Make sure you're starting those conversations early and purposeful, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. I know that time is our greatest asset, and I appreciate the time that you spend with me. If you're finding the information on this podcast useful, please subscribe to the channel on your favorite platform so that you never miss another episode. Don't forget to go to our website, where you will find additional resources, downloads, and coaching programs. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60.